Welcome to Cash and Raisins presented by Phyxius Media, putting your ideas to flight. I'm the Prophet. Beside me is Das Crepes. Say hello, Crepes.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
We left off last week with, we talked about the NFC North. We talked about that Cowboys-Eagles matchup, which I was correct in my prediction.
Oh, yeah, totally. You were correct. You were correct in being the fan of the team. Nah, I was correct in actually picking the team.
Well, I got to witness that firsthand, so that was a good time.
I know you had to go to the game. That's actually really cool. I mean, I was sitting home and I was watching the pay-per-view for WWE, but I know you had a good time, and I'm sure you went right into Lincoln Financial and just stormed up the place in your Cowboys jersey.
Yep, I wore my Alabama shirt and sat there quietly.
Well, it didn't snow, so you didn't have to worry about that. You're not getting pelted with snowballs. Beers were you had to worry about, though. I guess.
On a future broadcast, I want to talk about the fan reactions in Philadelphia, but today we're going to touch on some of the NFL action we saw this weekend, followed by the WWE TLC pay-per-view reaction. I know we have a lot to say about that. So.
Yeah, good amount. I mean, this weekend in football was great. Not for fantasy again, but this weekend in football was awesome to watch, like we thought it was going to be, and it's shaped up to. This week will be pretty important for a lot of teams, and then the TLC pay-per-view coming off of the NXT pay-per-view. That's something in its own, so it's pretty cool.
We'll start by talking about we have a couple teams punching their tickets this week. The Broncos are going, the Colts are going. Yep. The NFC North or the AFC North, it's completely wide open.
Yeah, for whatever reason, every team in there likes to win. So they all look like they still have their ticket to get punched. It's wide open. There's 2 weeks left. There's probably most of those teams have to deal with division games. So it looks like it's also going to be an important weekend for that division specifically. Not so much in the NFC. There's only one spot left, really, to talk about for the playoff spot, and the divisions look like they need to still be locked up there.
Yeah, the NFC got a little topsy-turvy this week. You had the Eagles lose their spot to the Cowboys. The Packers dropped behind the Lions. Mm-hmm. It just seems inevitable that the Seahawks are going to pass the Cardinals, and, of course, the Saints took over the Falcons in the South.
Yeah, and we were teasing, I'm sure people out there have been teasing that there was going to be an under 500 team in the NFC South, but it looks like the Saints could win out their last 2 games. They'll be 500, and then we won't even have to worry about that joke anymore as well.
Don't sleep on the Panthers, though. The Panthers got something special going on in Carolina.
They still have to play the Saints, don't they? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll look that up and take care of that in a second. But where do you see Johnny Football playing a role in this AFC North?
No role.
No role?
I'm not a big Johnny Football fan. He looked very out of it. He didn't look like he was a very good quarterback in the game that he played. He got thrown into the mix. I'll give him that. His offensive line is absolutely terrible. You saw that with Brian Hoyer. Josh Gordon isn't up to his form. He was suspended for 12 games. Well, 11 weeks, had 12th week off, and then he came right into the fire. He's not running clean and clear routes, and it just looks like overall they look to be lost. They were doing so well, and I'm not a Browns fan, but I'm not a Browns deterrent, and it would have been nice to see the Browns make the playoffs. Yeah. Not that they're out of it, but it just looks like they're defeated. They look like a downtrodden and ridden team.
I have to say, I'm liking the Steelers to take this division. The Bengals are in first at 9-4-1. Mm-hmm. They play the Broncos at home, Steelers on the road.
Okay.
Steelers a half game behind them at 9-5. Host the Chiefs, and as I just said, host the Bengals.
Right.
Ravens also at 9-5 at Texans versus Browns. So I think you're going to see, like we talked about last week with the spoilers, the Browns are going to try to get involved against the Ravens. But the Steelers having 2 home games back-to-back to end the season,
Field's pretty good place for them to play, and they've played very well in most recent years. I mean, ever since their Super Bowl runs in the early 2000s and their AFC title games and all that, their home field advantage is just killer. People love the Steelers and their terrible towels. They love being Steelers fans there. So, I mean, it's almost like being an Oakland fan, but being winners.
Well, Roethlisberger controlling his own destiny is something we've seen over the past couple of years. And usually, when it's in his hands, they get the job done. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would expect to see out of the AFC North. Now, we were talking about the NFC South.
Yeah.
And the Panthers, who are at 5-8-1, who'd be going into Monday night, were leading the division. They host the Browns and then are at Falcons.
Right.
So the Panthers have a pretty nice matchups to end the year.
They do. They're not going against very dominant defenses. The Browns do have a good defense, but I believe Joe Hayden just went out with an injury this past weekend and kind of depleted that secondary of the Browns, which is really the only reason they've been winning games, quite honestly, and even keeps them in games. So it'll be an interesting matchup to see how I believe Anderson's the quarterback now that Cam Newton's been out for his accident. But he should be okay, so he might actually come back next week or the week after. But Anderson led them to a win, and we'll see what happens this week when they go face the Browns. They're home, so there's got to be something.
So the Falcons go at Saints versus Panthers to end their season, and the Saints go versus Falcons at Bucks.
Yeah.
So
the Saints look like they have a more favorable matchup overall,
and the half-game lead because of that tie with the Panthers-Bengals tie.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we're expecting the Saints to come out of that one.
I would pick the Saints. I think they're going to go 8-8, so I would say the Saints are going to take that division.
Yeah, it's just the Sean Payton and Drew Brees combination. Obviously, they've had a bad year. I would blame that more on the defense than anything else. But again, controlling your own destiny. That's a great combination I want on my field on my sideline.
From 3 weeks ago, it looked like the Saints were all but done, but thankfully all the rest of the teams in the division thought they were done too. So it kept the Saints alive, and looks like they're putting it together towards the end. It looks like Seattle when they went 7-9 and ended up putting together a win in the playoffs against the Saints. So.
Yeah, that was miserable to watch. You can't have a team win a playoff game and still be under 500 for the year
and host a playoff
game. All right, we have to touch upon a major minor injury to DeMarco Murray's hand. Where does that leave the Cowboys?
Right where they should be. I don't think it's going to hurt them. I don't know. I've always been a firm believer in giving DeMarco Murray the ball 40 times a game, so I think he's more important than any player on that team. Jerry Jones is not a person to pretend an injury is a bad thing, so I don't think that Murray sits very long.
Yeah,
even if he is in a limited role.
Emmitt Smith had this surgery, obviously, back before medicine was advanced as it is now.
Yeah.
Missed 1 week, so I would expect to see DeMarco at least for week 17. But Dunbar and Randall taking the carries in week 16. I don't know where that's going to get the Cowboys. They have run well, but that was it being like the 2-punch after DeMarco Murray tired out the
Dunbar
defense.
is actually a really good running back, and he supplements DeMarco Murray's abilities very well. But DeMarco Murray is the reason that the Cowboys have that explosiveness, and he's a great pass blocker and a great rusher. He just knows his job, and you can't teach it. Him and Le'Veon Bell are the studs of this season in showing you exactly what a running back should be capable of. If it wasn't for Jay Cutler being a Bear, I think Matt Forte could be in that conversation too, but it's just that's a lost hope all in itself. But
Yeah, you touched on DeMarco Murray's pass blocking. I actually wish it was a little better.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of blocks he should make, but there's a lot that you don't expect him to make that he does make. So if he could even that out, I'd be a little happier with him.
That offensive line is pretty shaky at times, and Romo gets beat up quite often. I don't think Murray can account for 3 out of the 5 pass rushers, even though he does probably second guess who he has to actually chop and chip down.
Yeah, I don't know the specific stats on it, but this Sunday it looked like Doug Free had one of the worst games of his career, just letting guys through the line. And, that's when you have a quarterback with a back problem and now a halfback with a hand problem, that's not going to bode well for you and your playoff chances and when you get to the playoffs.
You're going to get that when it comes to division games anyway because they're going to play each other better. When you have division games, the film is brighter. You can see more holes. You can see more things against teams that you play twice a year, every year, especially in the same system with the same coaches going over and over.
I would say that the effect this has on the Cowboys offense, I'm thinking you're going to see a lot more play action because you're expecting to see the ball run 40 times. So I'm hoping it opens up the middle for Witten, maybe get the corners to bite a little harder and get Dez wide open deep, or just have an Eagles defender try to cover him because that worked out really well.
It's going to be a tough game for them. It looks like a lot of passes are going to go Dez's way, which I completely understand. But if they catch on to that and they double, they put one underneath and one on top of them, it's going to be very difficult for Romo to be injured and throw the ball in a tight spot. And so far, he hasn't looked like complete crap, but I don't know where he goes in this game besides Dez to ensure yardage in situations.
My impact player going into this game, it's going to be Cole Beasley. It's that little presence over the middle that can get in the little spots in coverage that are. I'm thinking he's going to have a big week.
They need someone because when you have Murray and Dez as your only 2 targets and your only 2 explosive players, you need someone to step up into a role, and he could be that player.
Yeah. All right, so you think it's time to touch on some TLC?
You know what? I love me some wrestling, and I don't know how people out there feel about it, but I'm a huge advocate for wrestling, professional wrestling, as it would be called in Vince McMahon's words. Sports entertainers are probably some of the best athletes in the world, physically, condition wise, and they have one of the most grueling schedules ever.
Yeah.
And these people perform day in and day out for the likes of, well, most of them perform day in and day out, but
Some of them are
some of them are
part-timers that get
part-timers.
handed everything anyway.
But,
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah, but we love us some wrestling, so I hope you guys enjoy this little segment that we got coming up.
All right, so TLC was a light card, obviously, because we talked about the part-timer. There was no major championship on the line, but we did see the emergence of a minor championship start to become the major championship it once was.
Well, this looks like what it used to be when everybody used to be. I was a wrestling fan. I used to watch wrestling. These title belts that they even hinted at bringing back the European Championship. I don't even know if you know that, but Lana and Rusev posted on Instagram a picture of the European title, and I was like, you know what? That would at least give me something more to watch on a main card. Maybe even if it's a SmackDown only title, whatever. Who cares? They don't even go back to that. Everything's mixed together and all that. But you know, for what it is, the mid card titles, as we like to call them, the titles that are in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, those titles seem to have a huge relevance.
Finally, you know, it's
Finally,
over the last year, prior to Rusev getting the United States Championship undefeated, and prior to Dolph being back in the Intercontinental title picture,
and bringing some prestige to the title because he's a huge fan favorite and a huge wrestler. He's such a great athlete. I love him to death.
You know, it just seemed like over the last year they've both been lacking. They've been using it to try to push somebody instead of using it to somebody who's already earned the spotlight.
Yeah, it was a stepping stone. It was very put it on a very big guy because he deserves a title because he's very big, so we should pretend that he's really good. Or it was, wow, we really need Dean Ambrose to look good, so make him win the title, make him drop it, and then put him in the main event picture.
Yeah.
And now it looks like the main event picture is that title. So even if it starts off a show. You know, so whatever.
Yeah, we'll get to that later because in your words right before we started, that was the match of the night.
Absolutely.
So
hands down.
It
went on the longest out of all the matches, so it was good.
We'll start with the pre-show. What'd you like out of the New Day and/or Star and Goldust?
Star and Goldust are probably the best tag team that's there right now. I don't care what you say about the Usos. I don't care what you say about any other tag team that could be put together. Maybe Adam Rosebud and the Bunny. But the Star and Goldust are just... Goldust is revitalized in his career through this tag team division, and I'm glad Cody took the sacrifice of being a mid-card champion to be his partner. And I think that's phenomenal on his part, and he's also one of the best athletes that they have. Most well-trained and well-rounded person, and he's probably one of the best heels, so I'm glad they're a heel tag team. New Day looks like they had no room in the company, so they threw them together, and now it just looks like brothers together.
Yeah.
It seems like a very righteous movement. It seems like a very, what do you call it, religious type of group, which is okay.
I get the feel from it that with all the racial things that have been going on, they threw together a New Day and pushed them as faces because the company had seemed racist over the last couple months.
Yeah, and what I would have liked to see was a heel. Got a heel group, almost like Kurt Angle, where he's a good guy, but we boo him because he's so good. Yeah. I would have rather booed the New Day because I'd be like, wow, I really don't want to hear these guys talk. Like, and I don't mind them talking because they're kind of funny. They throw comedy in here and there, and they need comedic spots. They lost Santino Marella, so hopefully he comes back soon. But if you need something like that, I guess you got to push it somehow. So I'm okay with it. I'd rather have seen Star and Goldust go over to push a better title fight for a tag team championship. And the same old boring, tired tag teams that always go in at it. But.
Yeah, to go along with your boring tag teams, we had the championship match. Usos defeated Miz and Mizdow by disqualification.
I love Mizdow. I love Damien Sandow, and I love the character that he's brought, and I love that the fans are pushing a character once again. One day, the company will realize that the fans are right with most people, and they'll push the right guy because he's the best presence. And I've never seen a more gifted person on the mic and in the ring not get pushed, maybe besides Dolph Ziggler. Yeah. Because Sandow probably has the best heel mic skills around right now that has the best in-ring ability right now.
I'd just like to point out the 1000th episode of Raw, they had the DX reunion in the ring. They had one heel come out during that they wanted center stage to start that show. It was Damien Sandow.
Yeah, it was.
I'm tired of the Usos.
It's played out. It's enough. I've seen enough Usos for a lifetime.
Everything they had in their skill set, they threw out in the first couple months.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same match every week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah.
They had them finally start doing some submissions, but unless you repackage them, I'd like to see them as heels. I think that would be cool.
It'd be weird. I don't ever think a brother storyline or a twins storyline works out very well. I never felt that way, and I could see that from the Bellas. One had to get enhanced. The other.
What does that mean?
Someone has bigger boobs than the other. I don't think that ever works out unless you can literally define yourself in a completely separate way. Jimmy and Jay
have the same exact
are
tattoos.
identical, the same tattoos and the same face paint, just on the opposite sides of their face. I still don't know which one has it on the left side and which one has it on the right side.
Well, you're in luck because now they both have 2 arm sleeves.
Yeah, great. That's perfect. That's gonna help me out. And then like I said, like Brie and Nikki Bella, like who do you give it to? I guess you give it to the one that's dating John Cena. Like there's no plus side to being the downside of a tag team, but especially when you're a twin.
We'll give the Big Show defeated Rowan in a very boring match where
big guys are just not they're just not matches. Big guys aren't matches.
There was one spot in the match with steel chairs off the top rope. They botched it. It was very unentertaining. It was very drawn out. The commentators were bored. It just wasn't good.
The commentators are boring as well, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
JBL's cool. Yeah. Everybody else sucks.
We had the chairs match between Ryback and Kane, where the crowd hated Kane because he's a heel and hated Ryback thanks to CM Punk.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Ryback.
I'm also still a fan.
I don't care what anybody says about him because the guy worked his ass off to get where he is. You're on the main roster for a reason. You wouldn't be on the main roster if it wasn't for your athletic ability and your mic skills. So I know he's just a big guy, but I think for the last couple weeks he's wanted to show why he deserves to be there, and especially now fueled with the CM Punk comments, he's gonna try harder more now than ever, and they might even push him harder now because they want to spite CM Punk, which they've done with other people. So
that is true,
and Punk's been okay with it. So
yeah. Speaking of Punk, you had one of the major talents on the roster get wasted for another pay-per-view in AJ Lee. I'm pretty tired of seeing that everywhere.
I don't know if WWE buys into a lot of the rumors that go around on the internet where AJ's going to leave, AJ's pregnant, AJ's this, whatever. It doesn't matter what it may be. She tries very hard with that division, which has very limited talent right now on the main roster. There aren't very many good female wrestlers. We have Natalya, who I think is the best female wrestler, and AJ, which is a 2-person show. You know what? I could put what's her name, Trinity. I guess what Naomi.
Yes.
I'd put her in the mix of that, but now they have her in an adultery storyline.
Yeah,
so what's the point?
I think Nikki
She's
Bella.
A woman, she can't wrestle. Let's put her in a story.
I think Nikki Bella is actually starting to come around as a wrestler. She was the most talentless person on the roster a couple months ago.
Still can't talk on a microphone though. She's so bad. I don't.
At least when Nikki's talking, Brie isn't. Thank the Lord.
Yeah, but at least like when Brie had to play like the defenseless human because her 2-minute older sister beats up on her. Like you could pretend like that, but like Stephanie, my sister's such a bad person. Like I was sitting there, I'm like, am I freaking 2 years old? Like I don't want to hear this crap. This is stupid.
We had
where's Trish and Lita and Tori and all the years I like to watch.
They all got real jobs.
Yeah, Kelly was talentless in the ring, but she was at least good to look at.
All right, so another point in the night, we had Cena defeat Rollins, and I thought this was a lot better match than I expected going into it.
I would have been okay with just J&J Security interfering. I don't know that we needed every bit of the extra interference. I didn't like Roman Reigns coming back this early. I didn't like it. I think the Royal Rumble impact would have been bigger because now he's in action on SmackDown. I think that Big Show is also in no man's land because he just had a match with Rowan, and then they threw him into pretty much going to set up for a Cena match.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. You know, as a wrestling fan, I was genuinely excited when Reigns' music hit, and you know, I don't know overall what's going to happen from it, but
I don't know. I don't know where you take the direction of creative at this point, especially with everybody having to be in that Royal Rumble match. You're limited on talent power, and all those wrestlers that were involved in that segment are going to be in the Royal Rumble. So now you're basically just setting up for, oh my goodness, Cena and Show are in the same ring at the same time after number 23 hit. So now they're going to face off, and one of them is going to get eliminated out of the two because they're having a feud. And then you have Reigns, who's probably going to win the Royal Rumble, eliminating everybody. So it really sets up nothing.
I don't think they could have afforded to leave him out. I get what you're saying about how it affects the storylines, but you are so talent deprived, you needed him to come back. Yeah. Maybe not in that way, but he needed to be back on the roster. You can't go another 6 weeks so depleted as they have been.
Yeah, they could do. I know they screwed up with Batista last year with the vignettes, but they could have done some kind of package or some kind of like feud with words with an actual superstar in order to set something up better than just throw. I know he wants to beat up Rollins, but he could have done something for the past 3 weeks to beat up Rollins, like to say that he was gonna. I'll get him if he tries to do something bad again because I'm a good guy type things. And I just remember that Cena and Lesnar have a match at Royal Rumble because he's the number 1 contender because he won that match. So
I don't know how that helps Reigns at all, looking on the situation, because think of it as, an understanding that this is business type of thing. If Rollins wins that match, Cena is no longer the number 1 contender. It opens up the number 1 contendership to anyone. So why would you try to help Cena win that match?
Yeah, I don't know why you would. I don't know who would get it at that point. So that's why I thought it was very predictable that Cena was going to win, because unless you give it to Reigns and force him to not go through the Royal Rumble and just have his title match and then probably lose to Lesnar, because why would you make Lesnar drop it unless he wasn't going to resign? I don't know. And they made Lesnar look really dominant last night, so I don't think I just didn't see any other opportunity for anybody to be the number 1 contender. Unless they put it on a big guy and made it a really boring match again, like a Rowan show match.
Also, last night we saw Seth Rollins possibly aligned with Paul Heyman.
Nah.
No?
That didn't...
That handshake in the ring didn't...
Nah, it didn't do anything for me.
I'm really hoping he's a Paul Heyman guy.
Everybody should be a Paul Heyman guy. I wish I was a Paul Heyman guy, because I'd probably be a wrestler for some reason in some aspect and be like looking like the mouth of the South Jimmy Hart if I was in wrestling right now.
All right, so elsewhere we had Rusev defeat Swagger to retain the title. Not very exciting.
That was just gonna be obvious. You don't put Swagger over for the 8th time in the matchups versus each other. It just doesn't happen. Yeah, I'm angry. You heard Zeb Coulter. Yeah, I'm still gonna lose. There was no doubt. I didn't mind.
Bray Wyatt defeated Dean Ambrose in the TLC match.
The explosion of TV. I don't really care about the ending. It's good that they didn't do a clean win over Ambrose, because that squashes the character of Ambrose, because he beat Wyatt up for like 4 straight weeks with chairs. So I think it's cool. I liked it. I like that Ambrose is still a strong character. He's a wild guy. He's going to be the face of the company moving forward, probably after Cena's gone, and share the spotlight like Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin did with Roman Reigns. So it'll be them two going forward as the top face guys. So I'm okay with that going over that way. And it sets Wyatt up to be like, I can now beat anybody. It doesn't matter what happens. Everything's on my side. Good fortune. Sister Abigail on my side. Dong. Yeah. Oh my God, here's the Undertaker. I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, so back to the match of the night. Ziggler takes back the Intercontinental Championship.
It's exciting. You know what's exciting is not having the guy have the title all the time. Is switching it up, because then you want your guy to have the title again. And he's probably the biggest advocate for making it seem like he needs the title, because he's good at promoting himself that way, and he's good at making you believe in him. And he has great matches.
I think
he makes everybody look good, and he makes himself look better.
This is one of the best matches I've seen probably in the last 5 years in WWE. I was excited the entire match.
Yeah.
They had a couple spots repeat where Ziggler gets to the top of the ladder, and he knocks the ladder over.
Yeah, well, that happens. Especially, there's always spots that are grabby at the title and push off the ladder in a ladders match and a TLC match. So I expect that, I guess. So.
I was very impressed with what we saw at a Harper too. Very impressed.
Who was always the better of the two in that At least physically, he was the best of the three of the Wyatts, but at least talent-wise, out of Rowan and him, it was always him that was better.
You know, every week he looks like he offers or brings a little something extra to the table that we weren't expecting to see from him.
Yeah, he's a team player, so
I'm
he's
a
great.
team player.
He's great. I'm really glad that they're taking it the way they are with his character. So I think he could be a good top heel, at least mid card wise.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Mm-hmm.
Das Crepes, say goodbye.
See you later, guys. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate it. Comment on anything you guys can. Help us out. Share it. Like it on anything. Retweet whatever we do. A whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we're trying to do some, trying to get a little bit more exposure. So if you guys could help us out in any way, it'd be really appreciated. And tell us what you like and what you don't like. If you don't like the wrestling part, we don't have to talk about wrestling. But if you like more sports or if you want us to talk about anything else, just let us know. We'll hit on any subject you want.
That's the word. I'm the prophet. Good night.
Das Crepes. Later, guys.